Try sleeping on your bedroom floor tonight. Not on a camping mat, not under a duvet. Just you, the floor, and the growing suspicion that your shoulder has been installed incorrectly. Now remove the roof, central heating, insect screens, electric light, and the certainty that nobody else needs this patch of ground. So how did people sleep before beds? The short answer is, at least some of them made beds. Not wooden furniture with 12-year warranties, but deliberately prepared places that solved several problems at once. Softness mattered. So did cold, damp, dirt, insects, smoke, weather, and the inconvenient habits of other humans. The evidence is rare because grass, leaves, hides, and wood usually rot. Archaeology is much better at preserving a stone tool than Tuesday night's mattress. But in a few exceptional places, microscopic plant traces, ash, and burned layers let us reconstruct part of the routine. At Border Cave in South Africa, researchers identified grass remains dating to about 200,000 years ago. They interpreted them as deliberately constructed bedding near the back of the cave. This is among the earliest known evidence of its kind, not necessarily the first bedding anyone made. The older evidence may simply have composted itself out of history. What survives is not a complete bedroom. There is no preserved sleeper, pillow, blanket, or little sign asking visitors to keep their sandals off. And bedding is the researcher's functional interpretation of a plant surface that may also have been used while people sat, worked, or rested. Still, gathering grass into one place takes effort. It turns an irregular floor into a thicker, more even surface and puts plant material between a body and the grit and stone below. We cannot measure exactly how comfortable it felt. We can say it was a constructed surface, not simply wherever a tired body happened to stop. Then there is the layer underneath. Some of the border cave grass rested on ash. The deposits also include burned plant material and surfaces that had been renewed. The direct evidence is ash, grass, and burning. The likely purpose is more difficult. Ash can make a loose, level base. It may also hinder some crawling arthropods. Burning old plant material can clear rubbish and pests before a fresh layer goes down. The researchers therefore interpret these surfaces partly as practical maintenance. But archaeology has not preserved anyone announcing, "Tonight is bedding burning night." We see the result, not the intention. That distinction matters because the result is already interesting enough. A prehistoric sleeping place could be something you built, used, cleaned, burned, and rebuilt. Less a piece of furniture than a recurring household task. The mattress was biodegradable. Unfortunately, so was the warranty. At Sibudu, another South African rock shelter, compacted sedges and other plants formed repeated bedding layers beginning about 77,000 years ago. Microscopic study distinguishes plant surfaces, hearth features, and burned occupation layers. Once again, the floor was managed over time. The oldest bedding layer there also contained leaves assigned to Cryptocarya. Living plants in that genus contain compounds with insecticidal properties. It is tempting to call this the first herbal insect repellent. Tempting, and too certain. The leaves were present. Their chemistry is real. What we do not know is whether people chose them for that chemistry, for their smell, for availability, or for some mixture of reasons. The careful conclusion is that this vegetation may have made a sleeping surface less welcoming to insects. It did not make prehistoric nights bug-free. Nothing with that many legs accepts defeat so gracefully, nor was this only a cave solution. At Ohalo II, beside the Sea of Galilee, archaeologists found a concentrated patch of grasses on the floor of a brush hut dating to roughly 23,000 years ago. They interpreted it as bedding. The patch sat in one part of the hut rather than covering the floor at random. That example matters because caves distort our picture. Caves protect layers and attract archaeologists. Many people lived and slept in open settings where wind, water, animals, later occupants, and ordinary decay erased the soft materials. A missing mattress is not proof of a bare floor. Shelter changed the problem before bedding even began. A cave wall, rock overhang, or brush structure could reduce wind and rain. Placement mattered too. near enough to the group and whatever warmth was available, but not in a drip line, traffic route, or cloud of smoke. Exact layouts almost never survive, so any tidy diagram of the prehistoric bedroom is a reconstruction, not a floor plan. Fire added warmth and light, but it also added sparks, smoke, fuel collecting, and the possibility of waking because somebody's excellent log had become an excellent emergency. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, microscopic evidence shows burned plant material and bone deep inside the cave around 1 million years ago. That establishes fire in a sheltered, human-used space. It does not establish that people slept beside it, kept it burning until morning, or arranged themselves in a perfect circle. The wider history of controlled fire is long and uneven. Evidence for regular use appears at different times in different regions, so we cannot give every prehistoric camp a permanent hearth. Where fire was controlled, however, warmth and light plainly could shape where people rested. The sensible reconstruction is a possibility, not a universal rule. Other people shaped the night as well. Modern bedrooms encourage us to imagine one person, one mattress, one closed door, and 8 silent hours. Across human societies, sleeping has often been more social. Different surfaces, shared spaces, conversation, childcare, noise, animals, and people waking at different times. Here we have to change evidence types. Living communities are not preserved Stone Age societies. They have their own histories and cannot be used as human time machines. Comparative sleep studies can show what human sleep is capable of, not tell us exactly what happened in Border Cave. In one actigraphy study, researchers measured sleep among Hadza, Jew/Hoansi San, and Tsimane participants. On average, people did not simply fall asleep at sunset. Sleep generally began several hours later, ended near or before sunrise, and shifted with season and temperature. The same study did not find one universal pattern of long daily naps or a regular first sleep, second sleep, every night. So replacing the modern myth of one compulsory 8-hour block with a new myth that everyone once slept in 2 shifts gets us nowhere. Human sleep is flexible. It is not obligated to follow our favorite historical anecdote. A separate study among Hadza participants found that differences in chronotype and ordinary awakenings overlapped, so that at least one observed person was awake during nearly every nighttime interval. That pattern was sentinel-like, but it does not prove a formal guard rota. Nobody needs to appoint a watchman if a mixed group naturally includes light sleepers, early risers, late sleepers, older people, younger people, and someone currently losing an argument with a baby. Could staggered waking have offered groups some protection? Possibly. Does that study prove Paleolithic people organized nights the same way? No. It simply shows that a group can produce near-continuous wakefulness without everybody sacrificing a full night's sleep, and waking in the night was not necessarily failure. In a shared space, someone might tend a child, adjust the fire where one existed, listen to a noise, talk quietly, or go back to sleep. Those activities are plausible, but they are mostly invisible archaeologically. We should not turn reasonable possibilities into a detailed schedule. So, what did a prehistoric night actually look like? There was no single version. In some well-preserved sites, people gathered grasses or sedges into prepared surfaces. They sometimes placed vegetation over ash, used particular plants, burned old material, and renewed the floor. Shelter could moderate weather. Fire sometimes altered warmth and light. The presence of other people could change noise, safety, care, and the timing of sleep. The strongest evidence is for a technology of place, rather than a familiar object called a bed. The technology was choosing a spot, collecting material, building thickness, managing dirt and pests, and repeating the job when the surface deteriorated. It was neither a modern mattress nor helpless collapse onto stone. It was a maintained little boundary between a human body and the night. And in that sense, the oldest bed was not furniture. It was a habit. Before lying down, make the ground less like the ground.